I never thought a humble Lincoln cent could spark this much excitement. But when I held a 1972 penny under bright light and spotted something unusual at the rim, my heart skipped a beat. That little stroke of metal, so familiar and ordinary, suddenly felt like the key to a secret wardrobe of numismatic treasures. Today's first star comes from an unexpected era, an unassuming year that delivered some of the most intriguing minting quirks ever spotted in pocket change. Get ready to uncover what makes the 1972 penny not just another cent, but a collector's gem worth serious attention. Starting with how this coin came to be, the 1972 Lincoln cent carries Lincoln's portrait on the obverse, just as it has for decades. But behind that familiar face lies a story of minting transitions. In the early 1970s, rising copper prices nudged the U.S. Mint to experiment with different planchet compositions. While the broad copper alloy remained standard through 1972, the Mint was juggling new suppliers and slightly tweaked production processes. These shifts sometimes led to blanks with tiny abnormalities, which, under the right die and striking pressure, could leave behind errors that today fetch premiums at auction. When it comes to spotting a rare 1972 penny, keen eyes look for doubled die obverse, off-center strikes, and the elusive rebabbed mint mark. A double die example reveals a faint second outline around Lincoln's profile or the lettering at the top edge. In God We Trust often shows the clearest doubling near the letters TR. Off-center strikes, where the coin blank didn't align perfectly with the die, can range from subtle misalignments showing a sliver of plain edge to dramatic shifts revealing a crescent of raised metal off one side. Then there's the rebabbed mint mark, where the original S mint mark punched on the San Francisco pieces was re-engraved, creating a doubled or thickened appearance that's almost ghost-like under magnification. Auction house archives reveal that a high-grade 1972 double die obverse cent, graded MS65, sold for nearly $15,000 in 2019. Even circulated examples with noticeable doubling have commanded upwards of $500 in collector marketplaces. Off-center examples can start around $50 for minor misalignments, but can surge past $1,000 when the strike is off by more than 20%, especially if the date and key design elements remain fully visible. The rarest rebabbed S mint marks in pristine condition have fetched four-figure sums, with one MS64 selling at a heritage auction for $2,300 in late 2022. Beyond the numbers and sale records, each 1972 penny carries a human story. One amusing tale involves a grade schooler in Ohio who spent his entire lunch money on a handful of Lincoln cents, only to discover one off-center specimen in his change. He passed it around to classmates before realizing its value, eventually trading it for baseball cards before the true rarity was established. That penny now resides in a private collection, its odd miss on one side still sparking curiosity among those who study die alignment errors. Condition, as always, plays a starring role in value. A 1972 penny preserved in mint state, MS60 to MS65, condition commands the highest attention. Mint luster intact, sharp rim details, and deep, well-struck devices increase desirability. An MS63 double die obverse might start around $900 on the auction block, while an MS65 could more than double that. Conversely, circulated examples graded VG8 to VF3 where softens Lincoln's cheek and the high points of the wheat stalks on the reverse, might still bring $20 to $100, depending on the error's clarity. Detecting doubling on a well-worn coin can be tricky, so even modestly priced pieces excite collectors when the anomaly is bold enough to spot without magnification. Each error type brings different eye appeal. Double dies often appear like a slight echo, a whisper of design behind the main image. Off-center strikes create dramatic crescents or triangles of blank planchet that slice across Lincoln's bust or the reverse wheat ears, reminding us of the mechanical drama unfolding inside the presses. Re-engraved mint marks look like thick halos around the S, a subtle sign that a weary punch needed a touch-up. These quirks bridge the divide between industrial production and artistic accident, turning everyday cents into one-of-a-kind keepsakes. Collecting 1972 pennies isn't just about chasing high-grade rarities, though. Many enthusiasts build sets exploring every known variety, The Philadelphia versus Denver versus San Francisco outputs, each with their own idiosyncrasies. The Denver Mint struck millions, yet delivered a handful of narrow rim errors that peaking enthusiasts drool over today. Meanwhile, the San Francisco proof versions, designated by the S mint mark, offer cameo frost contrast in proofs and unique proof-related doubling that differs from business strikes. Tracking down these varieties often means inspecting rolls and casting a wide net at coin shows and online auctions. Experienced collectors recommend investing in a reliable loupe with 5x to 10x magnification and studying die variety guides published by the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation and the Professional Coin Grading Service. Reference materials pinpoint exact die markers, tiny die chips, specific serifs on letters, or subtle differences in Lincoln's coat lapel that separate a common strike from an error plateau. One fascinating footnote involves a set of misaligned dies at the Philadelphia Mint that produced a small batch of 1972 pennies with a horizontal cud, a raised blob where a die crack transferred metal onto the coin surface. These cud errors were unknown until a collector in Pennsylvania noticed a raised, irregular shape near the rim on his treasure trove of pocket change. After publicizing his find online, dozens more examples surfaced, each slightly different in size and form, confirming that the mint had indeed run thousands of planchets through cracked dies before detecting and discarding the faulty tool. Beyond sheer rarity, collectors love coins with a story. Take the batch of San Francisco proofs discovered in a dusty old safe deposit box in Sacramento in the early 2000s. Packed away in a cardboard sleeve, they included several 1972 S-proof scents with die polishing lines so pronounced that the mirrors looked frosty, creating a cameo effect more dramatic than what the mint originally intended. When split apart and graded individually, each of those proofs sold between $150 and $400 apiece, surprising those who thought proof scents were less exciting than their higher denomination counterparts. When considering a purchase, take time to assess surface quality. Circulated examples with heavy scratches or corrosion will inevitably lose ground compared to lightly worn coins showing even toning. Some collectors prize natural, golden brown patina on copper coins. It gives the surface depth, almost like the patina on aged bronze sculptures. But beware artificial toning, where chemicals or heat treatments produce garish colors that boost visual appeal for a moment, but often raise red flags among seasoned numismatists. For novices assembling a 1972 penny error set on a budget, dial in on the most eye-catching varieties first: bold double dies, significant off-center strikes, and clear rebabbed mint marks. Set aside a chunk of your budget, perhaps $500 to $1,000, to acquire an MS64 double die example, since higher grades above that become increasingly scarce. Then pursue mid-grade off-center strikes in the $100 range, and finally track down a rebabbed S through dealer networks at approximately $250 to $300 for a VF30 example. Next time you tip the scale for coffee with a handful of pennies, pause for a moment and examine them under good light. One of those unremarkable scents could be a 1972 star variety, waiting in plain sight. Whether your passion leads you toward high-grade auction winners or the satisfaction of building a complete error set, the 1972 Lincoln cent proves that big surprises sometimes come in the smallest packages. Sliding from the copper-rich era of the early 70s into our modern pocket change, the 2012 Lincoln cent carries its own set of surprises. Little quirks hiding beneath that familiar Union Shield reverse, waiting for someone to lift them out of the ordinary. In many ways, it's the penny of contrasts, a design that nods to American heritage but strikes on a high-speed production line. A coin so common in circulation, yet capable of astonishing anomalies that can transform a roll of change into a six-figure treasure hunt. The story of the 2012 Lincoln cent begins with its composition. Since 1982, pennies have been struck on a core of pure zinc, clad with a thin copper layer just thick enough to fool the eye. By 2012, the mint's plating technologies had become incredibly precise, delivering consistently smooth surfaces, but also introducing new failure modes. Where earlier planchets might warp or crack, modern blanks sometimes suffer from what collectors call lamination splits, where the copper cladding separates from the zinc core in delicate feather-like patterns. These splits can arc across Lincoln's profile like ghostly rivers, creating a dramatic contrast between gleaming copper and dull gray. Collectors often prize these laminations when they form eye-catching shapes, pushing values beyond what a plain circulation strike could ever muster. Unlike the wheat ear reverses of 1972, the 2012 reverse features a stylized shield, 6 vertical stripes topped by a horizontal bar, symbolizing national unity. That shield surface can accentuate doubling, making double die reverses especially bold. When a die shifts slightly during striking, the shield's straight lines can appear to jump, almost vibrating under magnification. On the obverse, double die examples show extra thickness around Lincoln's ear or a faint echo of Liberty trailing behind the main letters. These varieties are cataloged under the DD02 die designation by the major grading services, and a high-grade DD02 proof-like example, graded PF67, brought $3,600 at auction in 2023, proof that even post-0 cents can command collector dollars in the thousands. Off-center strikes remain a perennial favorite among modern-era penny hunters. In 2012, the presses ran at blistering speeds to churn out billions of cents, and on rare occasions a blank slipped past the feeders, yielding a strike misaligned by several millimeters. Minor misalignments, say 5 to 10%, might sell for $20 to $40 online, but once the strike drifts by 15% or more, values climb into the hundreds. A nearly 25% off-center 2012 cent, showing the entire shield reverse truncated and Lincoln's bust creeping over the rim, once fetched $780 on a popular auction site in late 2024. The crispness of the strike and preservation of key features, date, motto, and Lincoln's likeness, all contribute to premium pricing even when the thermal flowers of modern design surround them. Perhaps the most modern twist is the die cap error. When small fragments of metal accumulate on the die face, they can effectively mushroom into a cap-like protrusion, pressing a raised bump onto each successive planchet until it finally wobbles free. In 2012 cents, these die caps often appear on Lincoln's shoulder or near the shield's horizontal bar, forming a dome that can dwarf normal die cracks. One collector in Florida discovered a batch of 2012 D cents with pronounced die caps after carefully inspecting hundreds of rolls. His finds sold in parcels to specialist error coin dealers, with individual specimens going for as much as $1,200 apiece in mint state grades. Even the mint mark itself can surprise. The 2012 D and 2012 S issues occasionally exhibit doubled or repunched mint marks, tiny signs that the mint's high-speed stamping mechanism occasionally required a second punch to achieve clarity. Under 5x magnification, you'll sometimes see an outline of a slightly misaligned D behind the main letter or a faint halo around the S. These RPMs, repunched mint marks, are cataloged by the Professional Coin Grading Service, and uncirculated 2012S RPM1 examples have crossed the block for $450 to $600, depending on how sharp and well-centered the doubling appears. It's not just the big, showy errors that excite collector chatter. Planchet flaws, small lamination bubbles, embedded debris, or planchet clips where a blank wasn't fully punched from its strip can fetch modest premiums. A 2012 penny missing a sliver of copper at the rim, revealing a thin ribbon of silver-gray zinc, might trade hands for $30 or $40 among error coin enthusiasts. These planchet clips remind us that even the most industrialized minting process can leave human-engineered fingerprints in what should be perfectly uniform discs. Market values for these modern quirks depend heavily on condition. A 2012 double die reverse cent graded MS66 brought in the mid-four-figure range at a regional auction in March 2025. That same variety in MS63 might sit around $600. Off-center strikes in MS64 cross $900, while more dramatic misalignments above 20% easily break $1,500 if the surfaces are pristine. Even circulated die cap or RPM examples can command $200 to $400 if the error eye appeal is strong and the coin hasn't suffered bag marks or heavy fingerprints. Collectors often share stories of stumbling upon these errors in everyday change. One hobbyist recalls finding a 2012 p cent with a tiny copper bubble near Lincoln's chin. It looked like a blemish until he tilted the coin and saw the raised dome catching the light. That penny sold for $275 on a niche forum. But more importantly, it sparked a deep dive into 2012 varieties that led him to his current error coin specialization. Another tale involves a college student who used a low-cost digital microscope to scan pocket change and discovered a set of minor lamination errors, eventually trading them at a local coin show for new numismatic books and supplies. To chase these modern treasures, experts recommend using a trusted 10x loupe and a bright, white LED lamp. Tilt each coin slowly to catch reflective planchet separations or die cracks. Browse online die variety guides where high-resolution photographs reveal the tiniest doubling and clipping. Join collector groups where members trade high-quality scans and documentation, making it easier to verify the legitimacy of an error before committing hundreds or thousands of dollars. There's also a lively market for specimen strikes and proof-like business strikes of the 2012 cent. Some die-polished regular strikes exhibit proof-like mirrors on the fields, contrasting with frosted devices, a cameo effect usually reserved for true proofs. When these proof-like specimens surface, graded between SB67 and SB70, they routinely command prices between $500 and $1,200, thanks to their visual flair and scarcity compared to standard business strikes. Interestingly, the 2012 mintages were so large that many collectors initially dismissed them as too common to bother with. Yet as digital marketplaces and social media have connected error coin hobbyists worldwide, awareness of these modern anomalies has surged. A handful of dedicated YouTube channels and Instagram accounts now spotlight daily error coin finds, fueling auction demand. Dealers who once overlooked post-0 cents now sift through monster boxes specifically hunting for D02, off-center, and die-cap varieties. So next time you empty your pockets or tip the barista, take a closer look at those shiny shield-backed pennies. One of them might just bear the subtle doubling, the off-center drama, or the tiny dome of a die cap that turns everyday change into a collector's delight. The 2012 Lincoln cent proves that even in the digital age, where currency can exist as bits and bytes, a simple copper-plated zinc disc can still capture our imagination and our investment, one exquisite error at a time.